It's
A good music transition. Guys, we are on tactic 12.
yes.
Like,
We're moving right along with our tactics here.
it's incredible. Let me let these few people in and then I'll get sharing my screen and we're going to dive right in because we do have a lot to go over today. All right, here we go. Oh, my mouse here is so touchy. Okay. Come back, mouse. Come back. There we go. Basic. All right. Tactic 12. Here we go. And guys, just remember, if you've got a question, throw it in the chat or hit that hand raise button. Sometimes when we're sharing screen, things come up weird. We don't always see the chat pop up. So that helps Jen and I know that there's something we need to pay attention to. If you don't know who I am, or if this is your first summer shift with us, I am Brooke Silva. I know that is the first time this entire shift series, and you called it out, Jen.
Sorry. Gotcha.
Laura heard it. Whatever. When you see the recording, you can call me out on it as well. But I'm your regional technology trainer and obviously a linguist at heart who can pronounce all the things we need to say. And I am joined by Jen Bovey. Jen, who are you to the region besides the one who picks on me?
Yes. Well, Laura picked up on it too, just so you know. Anyway, my name is Jen Bovey. I am your area director for the New England region. I am also an operating principal here in Rhode Island. Today is beautiful weather. Not sure how it is where you are, but I love fall and I love today's weather. But I'm most excited to be on this call for the next 45 minutes or so and dive into shift tactic 12.
And today is all about bulletproofing the transaction, right? So there's both sides of the transaction, however you are involved. So now, guys, real quick, what could go great in a transaction? What could go wrong? Throw it in the chat real quick.
Oh my goodness. Do we have enough time for this?
Right? Because there are some things that could go great. There are some things that could go better. Yep. Susan, appraisal issues. There are some things.
That Sue has seen a few challenges or what could happen.
She's the farmer's commercial, right? She knows a thing or two because she's seen a thing or two.
I don't want to scare anyone, so I'll keep all those bad ones to myself.
But we've got to talk about these things because if we don't know what could come up, we can't get proactive. And I loved living in a world where we can be proactive versus reactive to things. Yeah. And there are some things that we could talk about that would make things so that we never run anything.
Right. I think that things that have popped up for me that I think that most people don't even think about when they go under contract is title issues.
Oh yeah.
And right. We don't always prepare our buyers and sellers for title issues, but they're popping up and you have to jump on those and handle those right away because they could be deal killers.
And we got to handle everything right away. Yep. Thank you for jumping into that, Susan. Always appreciate everything. But there are 4 things. Nothing will go wrong. Anything could go wrong. Something will go wrong, or everything will go wrong. And we, in the shift chapter, and this really dives hard into this. And if you didn't watch the bulletproofing the transaction with myself and George Kelly from the Pennsylvania region, that's on our KW YouTube. We did this a couple months ago. We dove even deeper than we're going to dive today. So check that out as well. But these are the 7 issues we've really got to look around, Jen. And I'm sure that as broker of record, OP, agent for a bazillion years, you've seen these. You want to run through these real quick?
Yes, absolutely. And, before I do, when I teach any of my agents a class, I always start out with and Brooke, you've heard this quite a few times by now, my 4 Bs. So I'm going to have you guys write these down. Everybody have a pen, type it in, write it on your tablet, whatever it is. It's 4 B's, like B-E, not B-E-E. So right, exactly. So be professional. Be proactive. Be prepared. And the last one is be documented. Those are my 4 B's in a real estate transaction. And if you be all 4 of those, I promise you, your transaction will go smoother. And why I start with be professional, and you know what, you could go in any order, by the way, but I'm going to start with be professional. Why be professional? Because there's a lot of times that our emotions get in front of us instead of in check with us. So I would say always be professional and make sure you're keeping it logical and not emotional. The next one is, I think I said be proactive next. If I didn't, I'm going to say it now. Be proactive. There are so many steps we could take to be proactive in every single one of our transactions. I always ask myself, how can we be more proactive with that? Being the broker and operating principal here, I'm always asking, how can we be more proactive with our agents to make sure they get paid faster, to make sure that they could go list a house, sell a house as quickly as they can. So being proactive is a huge one. My be prepared one, that's huge. You could get so much more done by being prepared than winging it. If you don't have a system behind going to meet a buyer, be prepared and go start one. We have that for you. If you need a system to go list a property, be prepared and have a system for when you get a call today to say, come list my house. How many of you here could say, I have my listing package ready to go right now if somebody called me to come be at their house in a half hour? Put your hand up. I love that. That wasn't everybody. If you don't have that, work on getting that ready. And then the last one was be documented. I can't tell you how many times I have agents saying this happened. And I say, okay, show me the document. Buyer's agency agreement. The buyer went and worked with somebody else. Show me your buyer agency agreement. It might be called something different in your state. I think it's called buyer representation agreement actually in Rhode Island. So I even said that wrong. But you know what I'm talking about. If you don't have that and a buyer goes buys a property with somebody else, it's harder for you to get your commission if you don't have that document. So be documented. Anybody have questions on that? Okay.
No, but I love it. You do say it often. That's your other tattoo besides know your numbers. You should get that in like a script on you.
I don't know why you want to tattoo every, like she wants me to tattoo all of these things. Anyway, let's look at if we look at those 4 B's and then look at this list of 7 inspections and repairs really quickly. How many of us ask our sellers to have an inspection before you list? Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan, why aren't we asking that? Sue, let me ask you a question.
It's an objection that it's not even there. We just put it there even when it doesn't exist.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
So I feel that people don't want to educate people on the benefits of doing a pre-inspection. They feel like their sellers aren't going to want to do it. But if you're educating them on the benefits of why they should do it and how it protects them, how it takes away the second time you negotiate a contract, because you negotiate a contract twice, right? When you go under agreement and after inspections, and we're not scripting enough around that.
Oh, I so agree. You know, when I did a walkthrough of listings and, you know, I would say, oh, how old is your roof? How old is your furnace? And if they're telling me that it's, you know, more than 30, 40, 50 years old, I'll actually do like a physical reaction, like, have you ever had it repaired or checked? And if they say no, say, okay, just so we're prepared, I want to make sure we're as proactive as we can listing your property. If a buyer comes in and gets us inspected, do you think it would pass or fail? And they're like, I don't know, it's worked for me for 50 years. Great. Would you want to know if it failed before we listed or after we listed and the buyer has to pick a price on how much it's going to cost to replace it? Right? Does that make sense, guys? Like just being a little more proactive in those approaches is how we could get in front of that. So thank you for adding that, Sue. Appraisals. Right now, appraisals are hit or miss. Anybody seeing that? It might just be Rhode Island and Southern Connecticut Connecticut and Southern Mass. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more discrepancies in appraisals. They're coming in lower than sales price. So have that conversation with your buyer and your seller on what you can do if that happens. And then loan approval and funding. There's so many things we could talk to you about that. And I believe it dives into that during
Does,
the
yeah.
full session. So we'll wait for that. Other contingencies, make sure you get ahead of those contingencies. If it's to sell another house, that's kind of a big deal. Have as much information as you can to make sure you can put your client's best foot forward. And then any other contingencies, you just want to make sure you're very clear and concise on exactly what's going to happen with that contingency, when it's going to be released, when you can move on from it. Co-op agents, well, this is my professional thing. It's so important for you to stay professional and stay in relationship with your co-ops. Deadlines, huge one. When I say be proactive, put it in your phone, give it to somebody else to remind you, have somebody else do it for you. Make sure those deadlines are always, always, always tagged for you to remind yourself and your clients to get those done, whether it's a smoke inspection, whether it's a water meter reading, oil reading, whether it's making sure they call and change the electric company, whatever it is, make sure that you have that in your phone as reminders. That's how I do it anyway. And then clouds on title, Sue actually mentioned that earlier. I, as broker in my office, I have gotten more calls on title issues in the last 3 months than I have in the last probably 2 years. So title, check those titles. It's okay to still go to town halls and pull the deed. Bring donuts with you. They will
Yes.
appreciate it,
They do.
but pull those titles. All right, go ahead, Brooke.
You know, it's right in the shift book, and I forget which page it's on, but it says it right there. It's a GK quote, and it says, when the deal falls apart, nobody wins. So what do we do to bulletproof the transaction? How do we minimize all the things that could be coming at us during this? And you're doing the first step by learning about it here and trying to get ahead of these things. Be aware of the most common problems. If you save this chat log at the end, you've got such a great tool to get you going on where to look for some more education on these things. Have good solutions and communication, right? Lean on other top agents. When people are chatting in your different groups or masterminds about ways they've overcome things, listen. Eat the frog. It's one of my favorite phrases, but really it's avoid the problems by addressing them before they happen, right? Setting expectations and then maintaining great communications with all the parties is so important. It's communicating throughout the whole process with everyone. I know we all feel better about everything that happens. Now we're going to hit 5 problem areas. Right? Buyer's remorse, we dig in, inspections and repairs, appraisals, loan approval and funding, and communication. We all know some of these are within our scope of control. Some of these are not within our scope of control. And buyer's remorse, raise your hand if you've had it. Have you had it yourself on anything? I should not have bought that purse that was that much money, those sunglasses, that vehicle, anything in life. We've probably all felt buyer's remorse at one point in our lives. So I know, Jess, and I know that to be a very true statement right now, but we can ask buyers some things to really set them up for success so that they don't feel that remorse. What do they want to achieve out of this? Are they looking for their forever home? Is it a just now home? Setting upfront expectations. This is where knowing your numbers and being an expert in your market will set you apart and give you the confidence to give them those expectations. Alternatives. What's going to happen if the house doesn't appraise, or they accept another contract, or they counter, or, right? And then reassurance. This is a big purchase. This could be scary. Even if people have purchased or sold homes in the past, it's a different market. Would you agree? Right? So they may need that assurance that things are on track. And if your clients are reaching out to you excessively during the process, let's check our systems of communication, because it means that we're not hitting their individual communication needs. Are we always going to have Patty two chatties? Absolutely. Or people who need a little more hand-holding? Absolutely. But if we're getting that reach out from them and they're saying, I need more, with something's wrong in our systems. Some of the things that trigger buyer remorse, triggered, could be news reports. We've said it throughout this entire series that social media and news outlets, other people are probably the worst source of information because it's not hyper local and it's not relevant to their situation. Oops. Oh, thank you, Jen. This is my favorite. Friends telling them they're nuts for buying a home right now. Or well-meaning family, my dad saying, you paid that much for your house? Because I forgot that all our family and friends are also realtors. They're actually realtors. They say it wrong and they know best in this market, right? So there are going to be people and opposing forces that are pushing against our buyers. So we've got to be ahead of that. We've got to know that there's going to be the dad that's going to be at the inspection, or the aunt who was a realtor 20 years ago and knows best, or the news reports, or the social media. So how do we get ahead of those things?
Well, Brooke,
How do we mark?
let me just mention really quickly on that specific thing. That was one of the things that I learned. And when I say learned, I mean, like, I get like scars from the experiences that through my 20 years in the real estate business. One of the things of being proactive is asking the buyer, is there anyone else that is going to influence your buying decision? And once we do find your property, will anybody else be touring the homes with us? And the reason I ask that is because of the entourage effect, which was, we went under contract with a buyer and then we get to the inspection and the entourage shows up.
Yeah.
Mom, the dad, the grandpa, the grandma, the aunt, the uncle, the uncle that was a contractor back in 1982, whatever it was.
They come with levels and tape measures. They're my favorites.
And those most of the time were the deal killers, because they were the ones saying, you paid too much, that furnace is going to blow up, whatever the case is. So always being proactive and asking who is going to be helping with your buying purchase and who will be viewing with you.
Such a good nugget. It's such a good nugget. If you didn't write that down, I put in the chat so you could download it later. And then close as soon as possible. So what do we mean by mark the moment? So this is for you guys to mark the victory. And I thought this was interesting, that it was written down by the agent talking about why buying the home at 123 Main Street was such a great idea for this buyer and how they got to the decision. Because guys, 3 months later, we may not remember this, right? And this one's handwritten because it's from the Shift book. But if we're notating these things in email or command, or putting them in a place where it is a physical document that can be time-stamped, it's such a great record to mark the moment. And one of the things we talked about at the beginning is what? Get documented, right? You've got to be documented. This is one of those things where you can also queue up your buyers and say, write down why you are so excited, right? So we can make sure to keep that momentum going throughout this process, because there may be ups, there may be a few bumps in the road, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page, because it could be what they loved the most about the house, why they fell in love. But I love marking the moment, date it. That's the one thing they didn't show you on this because it's a cutout, but date it, timestamp it, get it into a place that you can document it. Now, when it comes to the seller side, maybe a little different. We've got to do CMAs. We've got to be CMA masters.
Can I just say something about CMA?
Yep.
I did a video and it's out there on YouTube, and I'd love for you guys to watch. It's called Bovie on the Streets in Newport, kind of after the Jay Leno, Leno in the Streets kind of skit. And one of the things that I asked a lot of questions to a lot of people here in Newport, Rhode Island. And one of the questions was, what is a FSBO? And nobody knew what a FSBO was on the streets of Newport. Now, every single one of you here on this call, first one, let me see, put it in the chat. What is a FSBO? Come on, somebody has it.
Christina's got it.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, there it is. So we know what that is, but the community and our client, or the people we're talking to, just don't know what that is. So it's the same thing for a CMA. If you say, hey, can I do a CMA on your property? Don't use, I'm going to encourage you not to use that or those letters. What is it? What is a CMA? Oh, Tiffany, you're ahead of my question. Is it called can it be called something else?
Don't use jargon. Yep.
I've heard competitive market analysis, comparable.
Comparable market analysis.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, right
See?
there, it could be whatever you wanted it. So make sure when you're saying I'm going to do a market analysis on your home that you use those. That's just my opinion on it. It doesn't have to be that. When we're talking about this and you're doing a market analysis, talk that language to your customer. Okay, back to you.
Oh, thank you. It's such a great reminder because we do the same thing to you guys, right? You join KW and all of a sudden we speak a different language here and you're like, what are they talking about? And then one day you just start whipping out all these acronyms and you're like, oh, I get it now. So we also have to remind sellers of their motivation to move, right? Because during our listing presentations, we are finding out the motivation, reminding them about their destination, discussing the risks of starting over. What happens if we pull your home off the MLS? What does it look like? You know, what if back in the other market, right? Days on market. Right now we're seeing days on market creep up, but in the years past, we would see 3 days on market. What's wrong with it? Right? And then close as soon as possible. And that seems to be the theme between the buyers or the sellers because it reduces the time buyers or sellers have to second guess any decisions or bring outside sources in that may make them second guess their decisions on this. And, you know, Jen's whole B lineup is this slide on its own. Early response and stay on track, right? Constant communication, inspecting their expectation. This is not inspection expectations. This is checking in with your clients throughout the process and really listening, engaging if you're hitting theirs and vice versa, right? Do they understand the process? Problem solving, right? Agents are top problem solvers at the end of the day. How many of you have been there on closing day cleaning out something or painting something or helping with the railing, right? We are problem solvers to get our people to the closing table and having strong contract to closing, right? A great transaction coordinator is worth their weight in gold. They so are. And your market centers have so many resources. I know Jen's does. I know so many of the market centers of the region have great programs and great resources. So if you're ready for that transaction coordinator, or if you have not tried one on, challenge you to. It will change how you do business. Jen, let's talk inspections.
Let's do it.
With sellers.
So conversations with customers and the sellers, prepare the sellers for what to expect in your market. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were meeting with a seller today, what would you prepare your seller for in the right now market? That's a question for our group.
So like
Anyone?
today.
Yeah, like the right now market. How would you prepare your seller? Anyone? Sue?
Well, we have to prepare them that they're happening. They're back.
Thank you.
They're back. Inspections are back, whether you're talking pre-inspection or if you're talking about an inspection after the fact. And how much control over that whole scenario do you want to have? Because if the buyer has to pick how to fix something, it's going to be very expensive. And it comes back to the conversation of how important disclosure is and how
Right.
much extra disclosure protects them in the long run. It protects them to keeping the deal together, and it keeps them from protects them from litigation after the fact.
So true. And, I'm going to go back there. I believe it was Tiffany, and I could be wrong, but made a comment about the inspections, about having it done beforehand or not doing it because you have to disclose everything. Now, you have to select, not every property might be the property that you have to have a pre-home inspection for, yet there are going to be a significant amount of properties that you might want to because they have been in the home for so many years and don't know there's an unexpected element to selling that property. And my proactive approach to that seller would be, would you rather know before or after? And just like Sue just mentioned, if we do it after, the buyers then dictate how much money it's going to cost to repair these items rather than us getting in front of it and understanding what we could be getting into when we do go under contract. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And I think some of those things too go right into the next things where you're acknowledging what your sellers may be feeling about certain things. Maybe they know their house is in a state of disrepair or it will not keep up with the market right now, but they do have to make a quick move, and managing the emotions during the transaction is so important. And sometimes it is those harder conversations. Jen, I'm sure you've had to ask the questions, are you willing to lose buyers? Because if we lose one buyer over this, we're probably going to lose more buyers over this.
That's absolutely in the listing presentation, is asking the motivation of selling and say, okay, well, if something comes up in the home inspection, are you willing to repair it? Are you willing for the buyers to walk away? Or what is your willingness if these items do come up? So being very prepared in that conversation is important here.
And it could be a disclosure thing. People may not understand how disclosure works with inspections and different processes. A lot of the same things comes to our buyers, right? We've got to recommend people we trust, right? Some states I know you don't get to pick the inspector, the buyers don't. Like I know there's rules everywhere and it's different. Is it different in our states for buyers? They pick their inspector?
In Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut that I'm aware of, you pick your own inspectors. Yes.
Perfect. So having those trusted inspectors and knowing, right? I know in New England, we have so many antique homes, right? And so many different types of properties that you would not see in Florida, right? They don't have basement issues like we do. Educate buyers about the process, especially our first-time home buyers or people who may not have purchased. And actually, guys, anyone, things change consistently. And remind the buyers that inspectors document everything, right? They have to. That's their job, to inspect the home. But just because a little tiny chip out of the light switch is there doesn't mean that this house is going to fall apart around people's, but they do have to disclose everything and then help them focus on big picture. And we've, again, just like in our seller's presentation, our listing presentation, we're setting those expectations up ahead of time with the motivation during those, the times we're with them.
Brooke, I do have two things I want to mention. One is Sue's comment about having these conversations in person. Yes. Any opportunity you can to be in person with your client or customer about inspections, disclosures, any of the big topics, negotiations, be in person with them, because there's a difference of energy, of how they feel, of how they look, how their posture is. You will be able to understand them better on how to respond in person rather than a text, and I would never recommend a text to tell a client this, okay? But a phone call if possible. So first option in person, second phone call. The other thing I wanted to say was the third bullet point on this screen says recommend inspectors you trust. If you are looking at that and say, I don't have an inspector I trust on my list right now, that is your homework for today, is to go ask for 2 to 3 recommendations of the best home inspectors in your area and go take them out for coffee. And then you decide if they're going to be your trusted inspectors. That should be on your list of to do if you don't have that right now. Sorry, go.
Your goal. So we've gone over this, answer their questions, know what's on their mind, keep small issues small, but with empathy, know that it may not be big to you, but it may be big to them. I'm thinking things like accessibility, right? If I worried about being on a 1 floor, like and we keep looking at 2 floors, but I'm aging, right? I want to make sure that I'm hitting those needs, and then provide the vendor referrals.
I have to chime in because I I'm laughing or smiling because the keep small issues small thing. There, I had one time, and then it goes back to the inspectors that you trust. I had one time that I had a listing and the buyers had an inspector come in, and the first thing he looked at was the kitchen sink. And he looked in the kitchen sink and said, "Oh my God, there is a garbage disposal. Oh, your septic is completely ruined. I wouldn't even buy this house. It
Oh.
has a garbage disposal."
And I love those.
And it completely freaked the buyers out because that was how he started the conversation. I was still young enough yeah, I knew enough to have a conversation with them to say, why don't we really look into what
Susan's face is my whole attitude on that. Like when somebody screams, "Oh my God," there better be a body part or an animal moving at that point. There's nothing big enough for an
never forget that.
inspector.
I will never forget that. And
Oh
so keep
my gosh.
small issues small. Exclamation point.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Don't let, so, yep. So don't let the inspection be the reason people back out of things. We can use, now we're getting back to the place where we can use inspections as negotiations, right? How much a repair is going to cost? Are you both pulling the rope in the same direction with the co-broke for our agents to get everybody to the closing table? Positive mindset, right? In the past, we've seen where we've worked it into the deals, or we've picked up part of the repair, or brought in a cleaning company out of our commission, or picked up the costs of things. Those are all things I think we're going to start seeing again a lot, especially things like home warranties as well, right? So that way, if that's that what alleviates the buyer's worries, and then it's on the new owners, right? If something goes wrong, it's on them.
So Brooke, home warranties was my thing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. So when I get to the part in the contract, the purchase and sales agreement, and it talks about having the home broom swept clean, or that's how they're going to obtain the property in broom swept clean condition. So you're already laughing because you know that broom swept clean is a totally different broom clean to you and a broom clean to Brooke.
And they use a rake sometimes, right?
Super subjective.
Yes.
It is.
So, that was my opportunity always to give them an option. And I would say, listen, one of the things I like to do as an agent is to provide a closing gift to my clients. So I would love to either offer you a home cleaning the day of your closing, if it's not in broom clean condition, as we had hope it would be, being proactive to let them know that not every property that they close on is going to be broom clean as soon as we do the walkthrough, right? So I'm being proactive there. And I'm also saying, or if you like to do that on your own, which I totally understand and appreciate, I will give you a home warranty for a year. I will provide you with a home warranty for a year. Usually costs about $4.99. And by the way, it's a write-off, full write-off.
Yeah.
Not a $25 write-off. Talk to your CPA about that. I am not a CPA yet.
Full disclosure.
Yes, complete full disclosure. Yet, those are the two things I would always offer.
I love that.
And I would have three.
I would have that over a
cleaners.
bottle of wine, like
Three
any
cleaners ready
day.
to go. You have to make sure you're ready though. Have your 3 cleaners ready for when you have a closing. If one's not available, you have your backups. And you always have your home warranty company. I had one, which was Home Warranty of America. And then I had my backup, which was the orange. And I can't remember the name of it.
America's best.
So
Yeah,
that's anyway.
I love that.
Spiel on home warranties.
So real quick in the chat, what have you been doing when resolving
Wait a minute,
inspection?
I'm sorry, Mindy, no, I do not suggest that you pick up the inspection. No, you don't, the agent does not pick up the cost of the inspection repairs.
No. Not at all. And a home warranty, quick.
So it's a 12-month plan for about $4.99. It could be more, could be less. And for a deductible, which is usually $50 or $75, you could pick any contractor to come out, and there's like, they check off items on there that is covered, like a dishwasher, sometimes hot water tanks. There's a whole list of
Pipes.
stuff that they
Yeah.
cover for the property for that 12-month period. And then the buyer has the opportunity to extend that after the 12 months. A lot of my buyers did select that and still have it.
I did.
One
Yep,
of my
I did that on
buyers
my
that
first.
did go with it, their hot water tank went 3 days after closing and the home warranty covered it.
And we just don't know, right? It's just like a car. One day you could have a flat. One day you just don't know what's going to happen. There's weather, right? There's all kinds of things that happen. And in the beginning too, I opted in my first home to have that. And thank goodness I did, because we had we didn't know we had sprinklers. Nobody told us we had a sprinkler system. Guess what happened when you don't winterize your sprinklers? They flood your basement. So that was a beautiful thing to have covered. So what are you guys doing? Put it in the chat. If you're having inspection issues, what have you done? What has won for you in the past? And so we can add this to our chat log of pure gold nuggets for everyone.
All right, I have to go back because Susan Kenyon unmuted, so I know she had something.
Oh,
some gold.
perfect.
Yeah. So we used to, just because we will eventually be a buyer's market again, guys, it's going to happen. A great tool for your listing presentations in a buyer's market is to get them to pay for a home warranty, just like a pre-inspection.
That's right.
And now you can have a certified home with you can get a pre-inspection, you can have a home warranty. And when there's a lot more sellers there than there are buyers, your sellers will look a lot more attractive.
Yep, and I agree on that. And just like Paul mentioned in the chat, you could get a home warranty as soon as you list the property for free, and then it could come out with the proceeds. From what I understand, it could be different nowadays, but from what I understand, you could pay that home warranty right at closing.
Yep. And the home
For the
warranty
buyer.
is a great inspection resolution.
Mhm.
It is.
You don't want to replace a furnace, but you could pay, the seller would rather pay $500 for a home warranty, so they don't have to worry about it for a year.
Thank you.
I think that's the biggest aha we're going to take on that one. If you guys have other ones you want to put in the chat, please add them, because we do need to talk about loan approval and funding, because it doesn't matter which side you're on. This could be an issue, because this is something you've got to talk about with your sellers, and you've got to know that both parties have. If you're the seller, does the buyer have a reputable? If you're working with buyers, do they have someone who's trustworthy, who picks up the phone, who's going to go to bat to get this deal done just as much as you would, right? Are they pre-approved for a mortgage loan before you're even showing them houses? I made that mistake a few years ago. I knew better, but I was sick of my living situation. I said, let's just hit up a few open houses, because I'm one of those, right? Fell in love, should have never done that. We've got to give names of reputable ones, right? We talked about it in one of our last ones. How many lenders do you have that you know, love, and trust? Do they have backup funding? Have you advised to keep your finances in good shape? Like, don't go out and open credit cards or buy a new car or change your job or do all those things. And truly, do you know the difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved? What's the difference?
So I know we're a little behind on our slides, so I just want to say this quickly. If you don't have 3 lenders that you know, love, and trust, that's your goal for today as well. 3 home inspectors, 3 lenders. Take them out for coffee. Actually, the lenders will probably take you out to Capital Grill and give you a steak dinner at this point, because they're all looking for some more agents to cater to.
Right.
So go get your 3. Make sure you have them.
So pre-qualified, they may receive a loan for a certain amount based on such minimal information, right? This is minimal. Most people can click a few buttons on an app and get pre-qualified. And consumers truly don't understand the difference between the two of these, because then they get this false sense of security. This is, of course, I can go get a $750,000 mortgage with a 30-second application. Pre-approved means the buyer provided details, financial information, bank statements, pay stubs, and it's gone through the entire writing and back office things that our lenders do to say, yes, we would provide a loan based on, and they are most likely to receive a loan. We all know clear to close are the magic words, right? That's when we know we're truly getting to the closing table. But there is a big difference between pre-approved and pre-qualified. I think it's always super important to add this to your buyer's packet to make sure everybody understands. They'll say, I have a pre-qualification letter. Great, let's get to a pre-approval letter. And I love these 10 commandments. I giggled when I saw these originally a few years ago, but thou shalt not change jobs, right? Shall not buy a car, a truck, a van, or you could be living in it. That's my favorite one out of all these. Thou shalt not use credit cards excessively or let your accounts fall behind. Thou shalt not spend money you have set aside for the closing. Thou shalt not omit debt or liability from your application, and so on and so on. Guys, I have the full list of these for you so you can print them out. They are so fun to add. And I think it's fun to use humor to bring this in, because people have, right before I left the Bedford Market Center, the agent was sobbing in the productivity office because the guy went out and bought an engagement ring to propose the day of closing with a credit card. Wow, a wonderful sentiment. I mean, I see your faces. You feel my pain, right? You're feeling this pain. Or they go out and they get the Jordan's credit card to furnish the entire home before. It's just fantastical. So guys, what can we do to make sure the buyers get an adequate loan to make purchase? And we answered this about 2 slides before. What can we do? Jen married one.
I did. I married a loan officer to make it easier for me to answer questions. for
I mean,
clients.
talk about leverage, smartest woman. But it's about getting that trustworthy person on your team, and setting expectations and talking about affordability and what can they afford. Now let's talk about appraisals.
Yeah,
We've
Paul
gotta
said
do-
get permission to speak to their lender and ask questions. Like that's
Oh,
the big
yeah.
thing here, is just communicate, educate, and ask them a lot of questions.
Yep. The last time I heard your husband chatting with someone, he was actually speaking to the co-broke, the sellers, and he was telling them how strong of a loan application this was. Right? He was talking about that with the sellers for on behalf of his buyers. Like how far and how hard are they willing to fight to get to the closing table with you for things? And I just love that. So low appraisals with your sellers, right? Do we have CMAs to back them up? Is the house listed at an appropriate price? Is the market telling us that the price is correct? And have an appraisal done if there are no comps, right? We do have those unique properties that you may not be able to pull a comp. For buyers, what are their other funding options? Do they have additional funds? Could they get a financial gift? And please work with your lenders on that, because how gifts work and the letters are very different. So just make sure you stay in touch. Could a second mortgage, or are there seller assisted options that could help them?
Just to slow this down one quick second about the appraisals. Again, and I'm sorry that I keep repeating this, but if you're proactive with your client and having the conversation ahead of time, whether it's the seller or the buyer, and let them know that an appraisal issue could come up, regardless of what my market analysis states, an appraisal challenge can arise, which means that even though that we are marketing our property at 550,000, the market or the appraisal might not support that. What would you do if the appraisal came in lower? What would you want to do? Here are some options that could happen. Just so we're aware, if this does happen, here's what we could do. That way you're aware ahead of time of how much your seller is willing to work with a buyer, and that it's not a, oh no, the appraisal came in low, what's next kind of conversation. And then for the buyer side, I would say the same thing, especially coming off of the market that we're coming off of right now, right?
Yeah.
The appraisal gap was real thing. It was like almost on every single contract I saw. Have that conversation with them. If the appraisal comes in lower, what would you like to do? Here are your options. So Sorry, Brooke, I just wanted to.
No, that's okay. It's
Make sure
no,
I
these are the golden nuggets that come up during these things. And sometimes why it's so hard to just read the book, because these are the things we need to talk about. So now let's talk about communication, because we've all had those deals where you're like, the lender doesn't pick up the phone, like on a Saturday, why not? Or there's players involved, and it's always bigger than the buyer and seller, right? This is a team sport. It is a contact sport, but it is a team sport at the end of the day. So who does what, right? We have our escrow officer. Their job is to help stay in communication, and it may be called different things where you are. It's just like surveys and vendors. There's surveyors, and some of your vendors are there to help move the conversations forward as experts. Because again, we need to know a lot in this world, but we don't know everything. And there are times when we have to stay in our lane. And I love the communication because we have the ability to stay in our lane and help with our professionals. It also makes us look like we're such a bigger team. When we're talking to sellers about their financial information too, gather as much information on the property, right? When was it purchased? What was the true amount of the loan? How much do they owe the lender? Is there a second mortgage, right? Second mortgage is creeping up for no fun. And then these are things as the buyer's agent you want to ask, because we don't want to assume, because assuming that the seller's agent has done the same due diligence that we would about the property, right? Not everybody does the same things we do. And part of Jen's B's, communication is going to set everybody up for success in almost every situation. We've got to spend time with our clients. We're getting back to a lot more in-person things. We may be driving people to places. We may be meeting more often in person. We've got the tools and the systems at KW to really help you manage contract to close, right? We've got opportunities. Opportunities is more than a way to get paid. Today, I was lucky enough to be on a call where one of the top teams in a region shared their nurture pipeline. And the first thing I did when I get off the call was I emailed him and said, I need to know this, and I want to pick your brain on a call for my agents in a class, because your nurture pipeline just blew my mind. That means when we're handling and we're staying in communication too, it means we can anticipate problems and take preventative actions. Because again, I don't love living in a world of reactivity. I want to be in a world of being proactive, and things like this, or masterminds in your office, or different classes will really help with that. Talk to top agents, talk to your lenders about these situations, talk to your inspectors, talk to your leadership. Understand the mindset of buyers and sellers as we've shifted. Do our buyers and sellers truly understand what it's like to be a buyer or a seller in this market right now? And could you imagine if we adopt that mindset? It doesn't matter if we're in a shift, if we're in an up market, a down market, a seller's market, a buyer's market, a flat market. That mindset alone can help us be successful through any market. We've got to look for creative solutions. You're not alone in this. You've got a whole group and a community of people who want you to succeed at the highest level. Reach out to them. Don't bang your head against the wall trying to come up with solutions when there's somebody in the office who has probably felt it, dealt with it, and got past the speed bumps we're going to see. And never give up. Right? Never, ever give up on these things. These are our clients for a reason. And we're here to get them in their homes. Jen, do you have anything to add on communication? Because I know this is one of your favorite topics.
Yeah, it goes back to the 4 B's. That's it. I think that if we could understand, if we could really like internalize what those 4 B's mean to your transactions, it truly will fall into place with everything else that we've been talking about today.
Now, we gave them some pretty big action items. And now on our next summer of shift, we wrap it all up, tie a bow on it, and give you the gift of shift with an F in it. So this is not our absolute last session, but I would love to hear, Jen and I always love action items, right? Not just ahas, but what are you going to take from today's session of shift, and deploy immediately in your business. And while you guys are chatting about that, I'm going to just pull all the lists into our name grabber so we can pick a winner today. Because remember, you have to be on to win, and we've got a big prize to end our prizes today. So stay on to win. But Jen, let's wrap them up with some ahas and action items.
Let's hear them. Yeah, would love to see what your action items are from today and some of your ahas. John, I like that. Pre-inspections and home warranties. Look into the home warranties. There's so many great deals out there. Home Warranty of America is a really good one. I would definitely look into that one. Any other ahas or action plans? How many of you have your 3 home inspectors and have your 3 lenders? If you don't, that should be everybody's action plan. Have a listing presentation ready. Love that, Paul. Do you know that there's one in Command that's ready for you, and you can pick the pages you like and leave the ones out you don't? Pretty cool. It's at your fingertips. Yes, you have 3 lenders. Perfect. I know Brooke paid you to say that, Paul. Command is the best. Yes. Your $2 is in the mail.
Yeah.
What is Command? Miriam, you owe us $2.
You owe me now. Oh, I have to spin again. I just saw that we do not have this.
We'll be in touch. She probably already has an email sent out to you.
My soul just left my body. It's okay.
All right. Why don't we pick a winner and
I'm trying. They're dropped off the call from the list. I'm looking and I know. See?
Calls.
You can't do that. I'm spinning and I have everybody who filled out the evaluations in there
Go ahead,
too.
Marion.
Okay, guys, I know that was a joke, but I'm not. Command is my first advisor with everything. I go to Command before going to my coach or my friends in the company. But no, what my question is you mentioned something that is in Command, something that
A listing presentation and a buyer presentation.
Oh, listing presentation and buyer presentation. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is that in a DocuSign or?
No, that's in design. So if you go into designs and you go into print, it's right there and you can design it. I make it so that way all it is a PDF that I could print and then add my CMA in at any point. So I've always got one ready to go and I make it generic and about me and what I can provide, and then add the CMA in if it's for sellers and if it's for buyers. So it's literally PDF ready, print, go. It's gorgeous. And you can match the branding to any of the social designs. Oh my goodness. I have somebody who's on who won. So we've got someone. So let me tell you about our prize today before I bring this person up. So we're going out with a bang today. Play from current slide. Hold on. And what we've got.
Brooke, Stacy wants to know, what did you mean by nurture pipeline?
Oh, you'll have to come to one of our things. Nurture is through the pipeline in the very beginning, and it's all the things you're going to do to get them to the closing table and through the process. Oh, wait till I interview George. So today, Corporate Plus Club has given one of you access to their VIP club. Guys, think vendor lists on steroids. So the winner today gets 500 free cards, 10% off their monthly maintenance, and 1 month free to try it. You don't like it? No harm, no foul. We just signed one of our luxury agents up for this, and my mind was blown. He invited me on to the call with him with Corporate Plus Club. This is going to be something that sets you apart from other agents in your community. So the winner of that today is Christine Bates. Are you still on, Christina Bates? Oh, there you are. You stayed.
Yeah, congratulations.
No way. No, and of course my dog's so excited she's going to start barking.
That's okay. We're excited too. So I'll touch base with you after the call and connect you with them so you can get your prize. But guys, guess what? I've always wanted to say this. I've always wanted to be one of those people. There's
Thank
more.
you. Awesome.
There's more. If you are on the call today, they're also going to give you guys 125 cards plus 10% off maintenance just by doing a demo with them. So if you are interested, scan the link or email me after the call at b.silva@kw.com. I got to meet with these guys at Mega Camp. I've had a few great interactions. They're a really fun partner to set you apart. And they help you work with your vendor community. They have 40 to 60 nationwide discounts like Lowe's, 1-800-Flowers, Dell, Lenovo, but then you build your own vendor list in there and you offer discounts. There's an app. So now you have like a VIP app. And then there's stuff for you to give out to those people on your list that say, are you part of my VIP club or VIP discounts taken here? It's so exciting. So join us next week for or is it the 27th? Wow, it's the 27th already. Where did the month go? We're going to be going over the gift a shift. I said it right. And we are going to be wrapping that up. Tara, just send me an email. I'll get you the link. Technology some days is just a wonderful thing. b.silva@kw.com and we'll get you the link for the demo for the 125 cards. Congratulations, Christina. Jen, thank you as always for being one of my favorite co-hosts on the planet to play with.
Oh, I'll send you $2 too. All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Very
All right, guys.
Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
We will see you next week.